Welcome to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, Season 3. We're back after a little break post Super Bowl 59. And we're starting the run to the 2025 NFL season. Myself, Byron and Joe are here to kick off our Year 3 with the NFL free agency preview ahead of the new league year starting in just a few days' time. Gentlemen, how are you both doing? It feels like it's been an age since I've talked to either of you. How were your breaks, first of all? The three and a half weeks that we've had off since the Super Bowl.
I feel like it's been a long time. I was just saying yesterday, it feels like it's been months. But yeah, it's been alright. A lot of cold weather here in Chicago, but a sunny day today, so we'll take it and try and figure out about the minus whatever numbers we had.
Spring is in the air for sure. It's been nice here as well. Some nice sunny days. Heading into the long off season. We've already got through a chunk of it. Joe, how have you been getting on? How's life been in Canada?
Yeah, it's been all good. Similar to Byron, it's been cold, but the last week too, the sun's come out, all the snow's gone, so it's making it more pleasant day by day. But it's been a good 3 weeks off. I've stayed away from the NFL. I just haven't looked at the news. So today when I was looking into it, it was like, oh, what's happened the last 3 weeks? We could speak for 5 or 6 hours. The NFL just doesn't let anyone have a day off. So it was fun looking at stuff like, oh, is that happened? That happened? And it'd be good to talk about the main stories going forward and not all the little ones, which we may have if we carried on in 3 weeks.
You're right. It could be a 3, 4, 5 hour show, couldn't it? Breaking down everything that's happened in the last few weeks. But we're not going to do that. We are going to make a conscious effort for, I feel like we said this 12 months ago, shorter, sharper episodes in 2025. That is the dream. Whether we deliver that or not is to be seen. But we are available in more places now than ever before, which is good. We've worked out some of the platforms. So not only, you can still get Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on Spotify. You can still get Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on YouTube. But we're also now available on Apple Podcast, Podbean, Overcast. We're working on Amazon Podcast, Amazon Music, whatever it is. We're working on that one. So more places than ever before you can get Good Teams and Great Teams cover. So hopefully that means we'll reach more people than ever before. And if for some reason this is the first time you've ever listened or watched Good Teams and Great Teams cover, thank you. Cheers for coming along. You can expect to hear a lot of NFL talk, primarily around betting. That's what we do here. That's what we enjoy the most. But we'll cover lots of other things as well. News, previews, drafts, unrelated NFL subjects in the long summer months. Everything around the NFL we'll be talking about. So let's, I suppose, get into it. What are the biggest stories over the last couple of weeks? Then do you want to get into and talk about first before we get into the free agency preview? Which ones piqued your interest the most, guys? That's probably where we should start.
Joe, you want to go ahead? Anything?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest stories in terms of the carousel is because it is a QB league, and I think there was one man who was at the centre of that. If he wanted to leave his team, I think it would have blown up quite a lot of the things. So we are talking about Matthew Stafford, who there was the stories that he met Brady accidentally on a ski slope or purposely, which caused some kerfuffle in a Starbucks, and that the Rams gave him the option to look for a trade. I'm curious what teams offered him, but he has stayed in Los Angeles, which makes sense. Team-wise, I think he's got a new contract as well, because when you did look at some of the numbers he was getting, it was like, yeah, there's a lot worse quarterbacks who was getting a lot more money than him. So it made sense why he wanted that new contract and maybe a new team. But he's staying in sunny Los Angeles with Sean McVay. And yeah, it's made the quarterback situation a lot less complex or more as much interesting as it could be, because it feels like, okay, he's staying there. That means Rams are solid, and everyone else is picking up pieces because there's not many high-end quarterbacks available, even free agency, trades, and some people say the draft as well. It's not heavily loaded compared to other years.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just never really felt he was going to go. It just seemed... Yeah, it just didn't really seem like going to those situations. I understand he potentially wanted a bit more money, maybe felt it paid what he's worth, but all those situations, I think he was going to the Giants, potentially the Raiders, just all really bad situations, and some that might improve, and he would have definitely improved those situations. But kind of the Rams, we just know how good the LA Rams are. They are kind of a perennial 10-win team. If they can get in the playoffs, there's a chance they can make a run. They were really close to beating the Eagles, weren't they, in the divisional round of the playoffs. So just never really felt like it was ever going to materialise, that it was going to move.
No, I mean, I didn't think it was that wild, I will say. He's won a Super Bowl, spent most of his career playing for Detroit. I'm not sure winning is the number one thing that was always on his mind, but now he has the ring. I felt it made a little sense if he felt, either disrespected or just simply not getting what he was due. The no state tax in Nevada would have been, I wouldn't mind paying no state tax. If I was earning $15 million a year rather than, paying, whatever, 25-30% of that away to the government is. So I could see the pros and cons, but ultimately I think the Rams are better for Stafford and Stafford's better for the Rams. So I think it's ultimately worked out best for everybody involved, really. Well, apart from the Giants and the Raiders, who are very much behind the eight ball looking.
Well, speaking of the Raiders, Max Crosby sticking around. He signed, and he's reset the market for non-quarterbacks. He got 106.5 for 3 years for Crosby, so what's that, 35.5 million. He'd made some noises about kind of his being a bit fed up of not winning earlier in the off-season, or kind of as the NFL season was coming to an end, but I suppose 106.5 million makes you feel a little bit different about that.
His bank balance is certainly winning. So he did not get a contract last year as well. Like they gave him one last off-season, or like just a bump to be like, Frank's been a great player. And I wonder if, like, obviously the new regime, it seemed like he was close to the old head coach, but I think Pete Carroll in might stabilise that. And it makes it interesting for the big players out there in terms of Mike Parsons. Cowboys waiting until everyone else gets big money before they tie themselves up. And also, obviously, Myles Garrett as well, which is another story we can mention, that who's basically similar to Crosby, had enough of losing, being a loser franchise, but he's the opposite, where he's like, I don't care how much money you give me, trade me. So I'm curious where his market is, what people are willing to give up for him, and now that Crosby contract has just come out, he's going to be looking for that kind of money because, he's probably been the, one, maybe second best. Probably, I would say he's been better than Crosby, but not too much difference between them. But he can certainly be like, well, if he's got that much money, I want that much money as well. So that'll obviously affect what people are willing to trade.
Yeah, and still, as it stands at the minute, I think with the bookies, unless anything's changed since this afternoon, still favourite come the start of the season to be with the Cleveland Browns. Do you see a deal getting done? There's a long way to go, of course, but do you see a deal getting done for Garrett and that he won't be in Cleveland come September?
If I had to bet right now, I think he'll probably stay in Cleveland. But it depends how much he wants out, I think. I kind of think nothing's going to get done pre-draft. I think it'll be whether he shows up to training camp. The Browns don't need more picks in 2025. I think they've got the most picks in the draft. I think they have 12 picks already. They're already picking number 2. I kind of see I totally see what his issue is. But this year isn't going to change that. The Browns can't get to being a competitive team this year. They don't have any money. They have a ton of draft picks, but they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a running back. They don't really have much of a wide receiver room. The O-line's getting older. They're kind of in that Saints thing that they've been the last few years, but with Deshaun Watson's contract anchoring them even lower than the Saints have been in salary cap hell, where I don't know how you win with this team right now.
It's interesting. I think the Browns would like to know, I suppose, where they stand, because I think they've got a very big decision. I don't want to get into draft talk because we've got plenty of time for that, of course. Yeah. But there's a decision to be made. Like if they really do need someone, there's Abdul Carter out of Penn State sat there that they could potentially take it to, or do they take a quarterback, whether that's Cam Ward or do they take Shadur or whatever. I think there's been some movement, hasn't there, with Watson's contract, so they're in a slightly marginally better position than what they were.
I think it went down today. I think they've saved think it was like 30 million or something like that in terms of contract, which makes sense because it looks like he's probably not going to play this year. That's yeah, they needed to do it. But what does 30 million really get you? It's not going to get you. It's going to get you some decent players, but to go from where Garrett wants to go, that's the big issue. Is you need to hit on that quarterback, and is it something you wait till next year? But Garrett doesn't want to waste another year of his Hall of Fame career.
I think this put them in plus territory. I think they've got like 12 million to spend now, where they didn't have anything before. So. That's the Browns. I suppose on that note, feels good. Trey Hendrickson, I think, has permission to seek a trade. I think he's quoted he was wanting $30 million a year on average, which he was the NFL sack leader last year. But the Bengals, they're in a spot, aren't they? Because they're not going to pay Hendrickson. T. Higgins tag, as the tweet was, from T. Higgins the other day. Still got to find a way to pay Jamar Chase. They just can't pay everybody. And it feels like they're going to lose a huge part of that defense that was struggling already last year to a trade.
Yeah, and obviously Sam Hubbard retired as well. Fired the DC, after the season they had. I kind of think the Bengals are just Bengling themselves, as they are prone to do. They don't pay money early. It's very Cowboysy. They scrimp and save. I mean, Jerry has no excuse for it. The Browns kind of are more of a mom-and-pop organisation than others. But I think they have the smallest scouting department in the entire NFL. They just do not spend money. And I do worry that it's going to rear its ugly head on the field again because, you have to invest. You have to keep paying money. And, yeah, you get rid of Trey Hendrickson. What are you getting back? You're not getting a first-round pick back.
No.
He's an old pass rusher who's playing really well. But, I mean, people aren't sure that Myles Garrett will go for a first because he's old and he needs paid. If Myles Garrett's not a banker for it, then Trey Hendrickson, you're talking, I think, a third-round pick, and what are you doing with that?
I would say there's it is a lot of money to pay him how much he wants. I think if he goes on the free agency market, let's just say, someone would give it to him, and we'll be sat here in a year or two being like, oof, that was a lot of money for Trey Hendrickson. He seems like that kind of player where he has good seasons, he's a good, solid, starter, but would you say he's a game changer? He's the, premier edge kind of player? I don't think he is to get that much money. You see other players who have great years. Dan Hunter probably has a better career, but he's been moved around. Grenard got moved as well. I think these are players where these teams are not wanting to invest on. If he was on a team with that kind of edge player, he would be the second. I never see him as being like someone get him in and then he's that defense. He's their number one defensive end who's going to scare teams. They're going to have to game plan him, but not really. He's not a Garrett. He's not a Bosa. He's not a Parsons. He's not that kind of player. So wanting that much money, the Bengals are not going to give it to him. So, like you said, I think most are going to get as a third. I think if someone offers a second, snatch their hand off and just say, let's move on because he's going to go the year after. He's not going to be sticking around. I don't think that they're ever going to pay him with, like you said, what's coming up down the pipeline. And you'd rather pay Chase a lot of money to stick around than, having, bit power players.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've got those. I suppose there's a few teams that have got a huge amount of money to spend. The Patriots, they could certainly use pass rush. Chargers, obviously, they've just released Joe Bosa. And
Mac.
And Mac, obviously, and there's Mac as well. So they probably need help pass rush wise as well. So there's I suppose there are some teams there with big deep pockets this off season. So those will be the ones, I suppose, if they're interested, that will be a likely destination. Anything else that the Bears? Let's talk about the Bears a little bit because Byron is there in Chicago, of course. Ben Johnson making moves for Ben Johnson. We know obviously a huge part of the offensive success in Detroit was built around the offensive line being so dominant, and they've got to work real quick. The Bears about revamping that whole line. A couple of trades, and I suppose the headline one: Joe Thuney, early season form, preseason. Joe Thuney for a fourth as well. A fourth round pick, which I think he's been all pro the last couple of years. He's 32, but He still seems to be playing at an extremely high level, and we're shocked that the Chiefs are willing to let him go.
I think ultimately it was a decision on, do we want to extend Trey Smith, who's 25, I think, 25, 26, or do we want to extend Joe Tooney, who's 33? And I think they've decided to go younger. Both really good guards. I think Tooney is a higher level, but he is also older. So I think that's ultimately what it came down to. Do you hope Tooney doesn't request a contract this year and doesn't hold out, and you have a happy camp for a year, and then you maybe get a conditional pick next year, or do you ship him off for the best you can get now and try and retool in the... Because I think they're going to have to be left tackle shopping again, because I think they'll move the rookie from last year, whose name escapes me annoyingly, into guard, keep Trey Smith at right guard, and then they'll be going left tackle shopping again. Maybe Dan Morgan might be a name to look there. Or Andy Reid, he gets one old reclamation project at left tackle or a tackle every year. Maybe Tyron Smith would be an interesting one if he can stay fit.
Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie
Stanley, I think, but yeah.
I've seen that in the news quite a lot, that the Chiefs are after that. Like I said, I think with having 1 year left, get a fourth now, because, this is the kind of trade you sometimes see where they get him for a year and then you think next year, like, oh, is he a free agent? He's only just gone there. There's quite a few people on this free agency where it was like, someone like Stefan Diggs, for example, went to Texans, but, got injured and then is a free agent again. So I think it's good from both sides. I think this is one of the trades where you can be like, what, both teams did the right thing. The Bears need to improve massively on the inside. Why not get, a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro guard who, he got roughed up a bit in the Super Bowl, but that's because he got kicked out to tackle and it's not really his strength. Obviously getting Jonah Jackson as well from the Rams. I think that one's not as good. I think he's younger, but he didn't have the greatest year last year. He was injured a lot and then he got dropped by the Rams. I think in week 10, and they paid him quite a bit, the Rams, and I think the Bears took all the guarantees. So, there was like rumours that he could have been released, but again, why not go for it? Because if he gets back to his form 2 or 3 years ago, which for the Lions, then you've got an absolute steal, and you've sorted out, your centre of defence, centre of your O-line, which is massive for Caleb Williams coming off, and then it gives them a bit more flexibility in the draft picking number 10. There's been some rumours about getting some luxury picks. I hope they still stick with, getting the, people in the trenches, sort that out first before going. But yeah, it gives us more flexibility and they're not overpaying where you sometimes see, the Patriots a few years ago where they were paying ridiculous amount of money for players who just weren't good enough for the original team. It happens all the time with teams like Jags and all that kind of stuff where they pay crazy. And we'll see it this year and you're like, wow, he's got that much. Yeah, he's that good enough that another team just like, nah, we don't want to pay him. So, yeah, I think there's been good moves by the Bears all around.
I think this year as well, especially, is one of them where I almost think there's not enough good players to pay. So, if you overpay for a guard and he ends up being, middle of the road rather than good, okay, that's fine. That rather than, splashing out hundreds or, Albert Hainsworth's the ultimate classic when it comes to mind, but, those kind of players that just, wreck your franchise for 2 years. I don't think there's any possibility of that with these kind of moves. I think it's kind of they're probably paying maybe $5 million more than they should be, ultimately, but they get him in the building now. They don't need to worry about it come, next Tuesday, Wednesday when free agency opens of we've got to get a guard, we've got to get somebody in. Yeah, you've sent it a late pick. You're paying a little more than you probably should, but there's peace of mind there, and like you mentioned with Ben Johnson, there is familiarity there as well. Yeah. And for all Ben Johnson's great scheming, great play calling as well, the thing they had in Detroit was talent, especially on that offensive line. I'm not sure there's been a better one in the league for the last 2 years. I don't blame him. Build from the inside out. They've got players with talent on the skill positions already. Yeah, I think it's really solid from Chicago, which is it's unusual for Chicago making actual smart decisions rather than just flashy ones.
Yeah, and talking about a team with offensive lines who could, compared to the Lions last year, is probably the Eagles, who have done Eagles kind of thing and re-signed, Zach Bourne for, again, a contract which is a great contract for him, but, he probably could have got more out there, but he wants to stick with a winning franchise and obviously getting Saquon to come back as well and restructure it. It's, Yeah, smart moves. I don't know if we, quickly talk about our teams. I'll quickly go with the 49ers, obviously trading Debo to the Commanders. I think I said it last year when the whole Ayuk situation. I felt that Debo had 1 year left, and then they'll probably um, trade him this year. Obviously it wasn't a great year with all the injuries and everything what's gone on. I think it's great for the Commanders. I think it was probably the right time for the 49ers, just with some of the young players again, and I'm guaranteeing they're going to draft another wide receiver in the third round. If there's any betting for that, I'm putting lots of money because they love to do that. But yeah, obviously they could have got more for him last year, but I don't mind what they did. And I think he's against the cap this year. I think he's 30 million, but going forward, he's not going to be on there. So I think it was a smart move for the 49ers. A bit worried about that. They're looking to trade Ayuk as well, because I don't think they're going to get that much for someone who's a massive contract coming off a bad knee injury. Like, what are you going to get out of that?
Right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, unless basically, I think they've also said they want to get younger, and they're getting rid of quite. When you look at the free agency players are losing, you're like, oh, he's a star. But a lot of them are getting injuries, and so I think they're getting to that point where it's like we need to get younger, we need to reduce this wage bill because, like a lot of these teams, they don't have a certain window, and once that goes, you can't pay all your superstars or your good, not great players the money they want, which they're going to get in the market. So, yeah. And on the Cowboys side, making moves, guys.
Yeah, I think getting things done early. I think I saw that when I saw the news last week that they were talking to Osa Odigizua. Was very hopeful that they were going to get a contract done and it wasn't going to go down the franchise tag route, which they avoided. Got a good deal. I think a fair deal done for both sides. I think, particularly in 2023, Odigizua had a great year, and then defensively everything was slow in the first half of the year for Dallas, but he was probably one of the bright stars of a really poor defense throughout the year, and ultimately he was one of the top defensive tackle options really on coming into free agency this time around. So great, and I think he's been getting better and better at Odigizua as well. So I'm hoping that he's next couple of years is going to push on even further. They were able to sign some other squad pieces, and then Dak restructured his contract. CD Lamb restructured his contract, freeing up about $57 million. Dallas are in a good position then to actually do something. I still don't think they will do, but they're in a position to do something come Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Well, I don't think they will, but they're in a better position than they were last year heading into that period. So there's key things they need to try and do. Obviously, Zach Martin had his retirement ceremony over there. There's a huge hole to fill at right guard. There's linebacker, defensive line needs some work. You're potentially going to lose a couple on that D line for agency, but they might be a little bit more active than we're used to seeing them. So, and I'd take that, I think, given.
Have you not seen what Jerry said today?
Yeah, they're just going to do nothing.
Yeah, aggressive. Aggressive in the free agency is not the right way to describe the team's plan.
I don't think they will be, but I think they might actually make at least one move on the first day.
Will they re-sign Parsons this summer? Do you think?
Parsons needs doing,
yeah, I think they will.
Yeah, I think they'll get it done.
It might be like August 30th, but I think it'll be this summer.
No, I don't think we're going to see a protracted, drawn-out saga with Micah Parsons. He says.
I'm less confident. I don't trust Jerry Jones to run a bath. Yeah, I hope it's all smooth sailing. Give Steven the keys and piss off old man. But I think Dallas got a great deal with Odigizua, though. I think if he decided to hold and force him to use a franchise tag or hit free agency, I think he would have done better financially out of it. I think he's basically got a 4-year deal with what he would have got 2 years on the franchise tag. And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have tagged him twice, obviously. But I think that's worked out really well for Dallas. I thought he would have got a lot more hitting the market, but for once, they do something slightly proactively. I mean, very slightly, because it was a week before free agency opens, but I think once you let good players hit the market, you basically said bye to them. And, if you can stop them even with a week to go, I regard that as a win, because, again, like I've just mentioned with Chicago, nobody's going broke in this other than, Cleveland, New Orleans, basically. Everyone else can spend somewhat to the heart's content. You just restructure a little bit. Obviously Dallas restructure CD and Dak, and you open up a full free agency market essentially. The teams that have done that, like I say, the Browns, the Saints, have kicked that can already, so they can't. They will to field a lineup, but like they're really struggling. From years 1 through 3, essentially, like this year being year 1. So yeah, I think just smart decision making there for a rare change from Dallas.
Excellent. Joe, have we missed any? Is there anything massive we've missed? You've got the list. You're also on mute. First call.
Charlie's still in mid-season form, as you can probably hear. So
it's going to be a bit rusty. It's going to be a bit rusty. We've had 3 whole weeks off.
No, I don't think there's anything massive. Obviously, T. Higgins tagged, like we mentioned, and I think everything else is fairly noteworthy, but I'm sure we'll get to it in the off-season when we start doing previews and looking at what happened in the off-season. So let's go ahead with the free agency predictions.
We've got a whole 6 months to fill before the season starts. Lots of good stuff to come, though. Like, I sat down and planned it out. Obviously, we've sat down and planned it out. Lots of good stuff to come, I think. Some ludicrous ideas that hopefully we're going to make happen. I think we are anyway, we'll see. But yeah, different feel to good teams and great teams cover this off-season. Keeping things fresh and innovative, sort of, by stealing other people's ideas.
One thing I know we won't be doing is any more Hot Wings challenges until at least next January. So that ain't going on the summer map.
Fair enough.
Well, in for me. If one of you guys wants to, be my guest.
Seems reasonable, Byron, yeah.
Yeah, I'll gladly do some questions for you all, but I ain't doing that again unless... No, that's not bother with unless.
Don't lose season-long challenges.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like, that's the unless, so...
Don't lose.
Let's not worry about it.
Make better picks.
Yep. Already planning it, prepping.
Good stuff. Excellent. Right, let's get into the free agent preview. This is we're 27 minutes in and we're not even started what we are going to be doing on the show. I have no idea. We're also using a new platform to record the show as well, so that's potentially all going to go wrong as well. But we're here. Free agency preview. Sam Darnold, the star of the show, for the cover. The first Good Teams Doing Great Teams cover star. Sam Darnold. But yeah, we're going to go through. I suppose we've picked some. We've got some help from the NFL.com's 101 top free agents list that's always knocking about this time of year, and picked some interesting ones as well. We're going to talk through where we think these players may land. There is a slight betting element to this as well. Some bookies do have markets on more of the household names and where they may land, so there might be an opportunity to make a few quid as well. But let's see what we've got. So I think the top person on the NFL's 101 available free agents is Milton Williams, who I think, and especially through the playoffs, is going to have made himself a heck of a lot more money than maybe he did before. Obviously, he was excellent in the Super Bowl as well. Joe, you've got him going to the Patriots. Any reason why? Is that just the top free agent with the top team that's got the most space?
Yeah, I just think the Patriots are going to spend big. I think they've got so much money. It's crazy. Obviously, new head coach. What does Mike Vrabel do? He likes in the trenches, that kind of guy. See, he was his big boys. I think he's going to offer him. They're going to offer him a lot of money. I think a lot of teams are going to do that. I think it's down to what he prioritizes. If he wants the most amount of money, because he may never get this chance again where he's the number one. Like I said, if someone said that last year that he was going to be the top 101 free agent, I don't think not many people would have agreed. So for me, he needs to get his money now, go to the highest bidder. You've got your ring. But however, I think the opposite side of that, and I do like your pick, I can see him taking less money. So yeah, stick with the Eagles, which you chose.
It's interesting that, because I think going back to one of the players we talked about before, apparently the Patriots made a call to the Chiefs about Joe Thuney as well. Why can't I not say his name? Anyway, and I thought they thought a fourth was too rich, which was, given the need that they have on the line, would seem crazy. But I love a return to the Eagles. I think they're just going to find a way to get it done. Obviously, I think there's another name on this list that we'll talk about. I don't think they will come back because they're going to have to lose somebody, right? But I think Williams comes back on maybe a deal that he could have got more on the open market, but chance to keep on winning might just trump that. Byron, you've got Milton Williams landing at the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I think tackle's an area of need for them, and they're another one. They've got money to spend. The benefit of not paying Sam Darnold, not franchise tagging Sam Darnold, is that you can spend a very good amount boosting your team elsewhere on places that you need it. That's the entire point of drafting a rookie quarterback. Well, it's not the entire point. The entire point is you get a great quarterback, ideally. But one of the big benefits is, if JJ McCarthy is eating up 2% of your salary cap and you're not paying Sam Darnold 40, 50 million a year, or any quarterback, it means you can, hit 2 or 3 big areas in free agency potentially. And with how they performed last year, their window is obviously open. If JJ McCarthy is the man and is fit, then these kind of moves I think just make total sense to them. We will obviously get to the Darnold of it all in time. I truthfully like both of your picks as well, though. I think Patriots is essentially the same ethos as the Vikings. Money to spend, a need, rookie quarterback. That's exactly why you do it. And I would not be stunned to see him go back to the Eagles. Winning is very, very valuable, isn't it? And I think it's a lot easier. I wouldn't be stunned if the Vikings are really competitive again. I wouldn't be stunned if the Patriots are competitive if they spend wisely this year. But if you had to pick one of these 3 teams to be winning the conference championship, going to the Super Bowl next year, you're picking the Eagles without any doubt.
Some good stuff. Right, and next free agent to be. We talked about him a little bit. Ray Stanley, and Joe, I thought I was going to see the Kansas City Chiefs here, given what you'd mentioned before, that it could be a serious option for Stanley to the Chiefs. Patriots also need a lot of help on the O-line.
Yeah, again, I think the Patriots have got 127 million this free agency, which is a crazy amount. So I think they're going to just try and go big. Go big or go home. It's a first-year coach. Try and get that line sorted. Yes, I think what I've seen is basically it's between the 2 teams we've mentioned and the Chiefs. Looks like the 3 players that are willing to pay the big bucks. And I thought I'd go a bit different from what you guys. I wouldn't, like I said, I think you guys have said he's going back to the Ravens. I wouldn't be shocked if he does that. But again, coming to end of his career, someone's willing to pay you an extra, 5-10 million a year. They might be like, yeah, peace out. I'll enjoy my time in New England.
New England was my second choice as well. And truthfully, if you 2 had gone Baltimore, I might have went New England. I think if he does leave, this is the most logical fit. Like you say, money to burn and a huge need.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs could be in play as well. Like I said, from what you said earlier, they're going to have to do some work on that whole lives. We saw them be absolutely torn apart in the Super Bowl, and you've just traded away Joe Thuney. I'm 0 for 3 on that. He was going to need some work, he's going to need some draft capital, but I think if you could get, Ray Stanley in for a couple of years, that certainly helps. If you then, it gives you a bit of time to go find your next left tackle in the draft, and maybe that's what they need, because it feels like it's going to be a couple of years to redo that O-line. It needs a lot of work. I'm interested in the Patriots though for this as well, just because we saw them do the throw a load of money at it in 2020, I think, didn't they, in free agency? And I don't think
Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, right?
Yeah, I think Hunter Henry might be the only player in that free agency splurge that's left. Was it 2021? It was the last year of Belichick, wasn't it? So it was 2020.
No, it was the penultimate year of Belichick, I think.
Was it the penultimate year of Belichick? Yeah, penultimate year. So it was 2022 then. But they did. They spent like 150 million on the first day free agency.
Badly. Yeah.
None of those players there, I think, apart from Hunter Henry.
Yeah. And he's been all right, but he's been all right.
Yeah. So we'll see if they've learned from that splurge and what they do this time. Next up, Sam Darnold, the first, I suppose, the quarterback they were most interested in. Well, that might not be. I don't know if that's right. But yeah, I think Darnold's very interesting. Joe, you've got him going back to the Vikings. So they've chosen not to use the franchise tag on him. Said, Coach Kevin O'Connell said he's earned the right to see what he can get in free agency. Just imagine your boss saying that, you've got
Yeah, go take some interviews, John. You've earned the right.
You've earned the right to go look for another job. But I get, the Vikings are in that position where they really love JJ McCarthy. It feels like you can plug any quarterback into that system and they'll produce. So yeah, Joe, you've got going back to the Vikings?
Yeah, I've just been seeing some reports. Apparently the market's not as good for Darnold as what he expected it to be. When you look at teams who, you've mentioned the Raiders and you mentioned a few other teams, the Jets, the Giants, are they really wanting Sam Darnold? Are they willing to pay him multi-year contracts? I still don't. The last two games, I still hold up as saying he's not a big spending franchise quarterback. I think he could be a great bridge quarterback. He could, come on, but it feels like a quarterback who's in a right system. He could be a good player. I think if the Rams had opened up, I thought that would have been a good shout. So I think his market's not going to be great. And I think the Vikings, because how much money they've got, and, Jay McCarthy, he didn't take a snap. Obviously, he was looking good in the preseason, but we don't know how he is after the injury. Would it be worth it to say, okay, you're not getting the big money. Why not come back here for 1 year, 30 million? We've got our backup/starter for that much money with the rookie. If the rookie is not as good as we thought it was going to be, let's put Sam Darnold in. And if you have another good year, maybe the year after, there's a bit more of a market where people have been, there's 2 years now. He is actually a good, and there might be better situations where, because I just don't think him going to the Raiders, or it's just like the teams he went to before, when he was at the Jets, when he was at the Panthers, it didn't work for him because they were just, teams on fire, really. They were just, he's not a franchise-changing quarterback. The franchise needs to be in a good position, good coaches, and good players for him to succeed. And yeah, the Raiders may have changed, but they're still the Raiders. Jets. There's no going back to the Jets, and I don't think the Giants fans will be happy to have him back. So I just think the market's there. So why not go back to Vikings?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think it is tough for him because I think those 2 games, as you rightly say, just all that great work that he'd done last year, 14 wins, but we still
lost to 2 teams, right?
Games when it matters, when it mattered most. 2 not must-win situations, but one where you'd have got the 1 seed in the NFC, and then the first playoff game, and didn't show up. Played his 2 worst games of the season, and feels a lot of that. I feel like the Raiders make sense because I feel like it's not quite as a chaotic Raiders situation as it would be before. I think you might have a bit of stability with Pete Carroll.
But can I ask, do you think Tom Brady would sign off on it though?
Yeah.
For reasonable, not for crazy money, no. Yeah.
I almost think it's all in the Raiders situation, what's behind door number 2? Because they released Minshew, which isn't huge news. They have AOC in the building. They're not picking till 6, I believe.
7, I think.
6 or 7. So yeah, you might get Shedeur Sanders, but he seems to be a real hot button topic right now. Again, we'll get to draft stuff as we go. They're not getting Cam Ward there, and then it's. I don't think Pete Carroll. I don't think Tom Brady would have a significant interest in Aaron Rodgers being in the building and all Aaron Rodgers' ways that come with it. Pete and Russ Wilson obviously departed ways many years ago. I don't think Fields is a fit there. I think Tom Brady would sign off on an actual quarterback like Sam Darnold who can throw the ball than Justin Fields who is fun to fantasy, he's fun to watch, but he isn't a quarterback, is he? So that's why I went Raiders. I was very close to putting him back with Minnesota as well. I just think not being able to do it on a franchise tag, letting him go and see what's out there and come back on a team-friendly deal, I think would really be the best of both worlds, like you say. I just think, and he said Oakland, Vegas might just come in and give him a starting gig and maybe not, well, he's not getting elite starter money. And I don't think he should get it, truthfully. I know you're saying there, like, he's been in organisations that were tire fire before, but there's also the element of, like, when it's not spoon-fed to him, he struggles. When things go badly, they go really badly for Sam Darnold. I wouldn't want him as my quarterback. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He seems a good kid, but I'd be very wary of paying him. I just think everything has to be so in place for him to succeed. But if you're Minnesota and you can get him back at a good deal, I think they should absolutely do it because, like we say, we haven't seen JJ McCarthy. We don't know what he is. If you can get JJ on his rookie deal and Sam Darnold on a team-friendly quarterback, it has to be less than like the Trevor Lawrence kind of money. It has to be that second tier at the absolute highest. But yeah, I just think Raiders will give him the starting job and pay slightly more for it.
Yeah, and I agree. Like behind door number 2, my only issue is that I wonder if having Brady in there, the more forward thinking. Because if you get Darnold in, and what is the ceiling? Yeah. Is it just next year you're picking number 15 and you're in the same position? They wanted someone like Stafford, someone who is a top tier quarterback, and I just wonder if they don't want to go down. It's that tricky thing: is do you have just a mediocre year with a mediocre quarterback instead of trying to be a dumpster fire, or did you have that year where? But I don't think the Raiders are in that situation. So I think they're in such a tricky spot with not getting Stafford that I don't know how they're going to play this out.
And if it was a younger head coach, even I'd be more inclined to be like, just punt it, We'll take Sanders or we'll take, Milrow or Dart in the second round, whatever it might be, and we'll get Young at the position. But Pete Carroll ain't coaching for 7 years. He needs to win this year. I would assume that. But I don't know if Sam Darnold gives you it either. So this isn't a glowing endorsement for me. It's just I think Raiders might end up being backed into a corner, and again they're second in cap space. They've got money to spend. I'm not saying they go and give Sam Darnold $50 million a year, but they can maybe guarantee him, I don't know, just under $100 million on 3 years, maybe. There or thereabouts. I think that's doable, and
maybe like a Baker deal, something like
yes.
What Baker got,
yeah, great example. Baker Geno, I think, got around that as well, $30 million-ish a year without after 2. I think that's more than doable and pretty reasonable. And I think Minnesota could just about match it, but I think they'd be hurting the franchise to do so because I think, again, you take off your Milton Williams, you take off whoever else I've got going to the Vikings if you do that.
Yeah. Excellent, cool. It's the Raiders' favourite still, but there's 3 that are quite close together. Raiders plus 200 or 2-1. Steelers plus 250, 5-2. Minnesota Vikings plus 325. Whatever.
I think there's as much chance of going to the Jets as the Steelers. I think the Steelers is a horrendous fit.
Yeah. Jets 6-1 are the next.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the Jets to be 60-1. I don't think you should go to either of them teams.
Josh Sweat, then. Like I say, I think this is the one the one that the Eagles will lose. Obviously, we talked the cut Slay, Bradbury. I don't think they're going to be able to bring everybody back with what they've paid Baum, with what they've paid Saquon. The deals have already got in place. I don't think there's be, and I think Sweat's the most likely to leave. I've got him going to the Patriots. I think the Patriots need help, money to spend. We've discussed those points as well. So for the same reasons why you think maybe Ronnie Stanley and Milton Williams are going to end up at the Patriots, that's why I think Josh Sweat's going to end up. They do need some kind of D-line and pass rush help. And I think now at this point, Sweat is just go get your money.
Yep.
I think this is where we're at. We Sweat, I think... Yeah, maybe
I think we all agree we've got him going to the Titans, the Panthers, and the Patriots. Not a man going for back-to-back rings, is it?
Yeah, I was definitely get your money. Which teams in the past have been willing to just chuck a load of money to hope it works? I think the Panthers have less than they did. I think it was last year where they gave crazy contracts out, but they can restructure a lot of people. The caps just can be pushed down the line. So that's why I just randomly I thought. It was like in between them and like the Jags, like a random team who just always pays big in free agency.
Excellent. So Titans for you, Byron, and Panthers for you, Joe. Let's see who else we've got. The 5th one, Chris Godwin. Bucks said they're not going to use the tag on him. Part of me thinks he's probably just going to work it out with the Bucks and come back. But I think the Chargers need some help. Lad McConkey, obviously great rookie year. Everything else around, there's nothing really else around. Josh Palmer didn't make the steps that we were kind of maybe anticipating they would. Quentin Johnson can catch the ball, can't catch the ball. Yeah. So yeah, they need a second receiver to help McConkey out, and I think a veteran like a Godwin is a good move for them. I think would fit kind of with Jim Harbaugh, and yeah, I think it's a good match. I think Godwin to the Chargers. You've also got him going to LA, Byron.
Yeah, taking the cup role in LA in for the Rams. I think that's what the Bucks tried to do this year, previous year, 2024 season. Liam Cohen calling the shots there, and I think Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford would absolutely love to trade out, to me, older Cooper Kupp with younger Cooper Kupp. I love Chris Godwin. I think he always gets open. He is coming off a dislocated ankle, but I'd rather a dislocation than a torn muscle, essentially, because that should heal better. So yeah, I think he'd be an absolute perfect replacement for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I like Chargers as a potential spot for Cooper Kupp as well. Mm-hmm. Although are they McConkey, are they Kupp, are they too similar? I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's a lot of crossover, to be fair, with Godwin and McConkey. McConkey, they can both get downfield, but I mean, they're both earning the bread, I think, in the slot and getting open in that intermediate area.
Yeah. Panthers are the favourites, I think, plus 250, so to stay in the division. If not returning to the Bucks, a slightly different market, this one. And the Steelers as their next favourites at plus 300. Joe, you've got them going to the NFC West.
Yeah, I've got Seahawks, just with everything what's gone down the last couple of days, with releasing Lockett and then DK spoiling that release. And apparently a lot of people in the Seahawks is not happy with that. He decided to release that on the same day they released one of the, franchise kind of players who's been there, underappreciated wide receiver. So I think that's got to be a bad blood. So they need bodies in. They've also got Jake Bobo, but why not? He's the number one wide receiver on the board. Just get more bodies in. It was more of a punt. Again, he's one of them players where he could. There's so many teams need a second, third wide receiver. So I just went for the Seahawks because there's plenty of teams who I'm sure will be interested.
Yeah, you know what? The Seahawks aren't either on this list that's been compiled, so I think you'd get a great price for them.
What are the Rams and Chargers?
Chargers 8-1 plus 800. Rams also not on the list here.
Well, it's either they don't know, Jack, or me and Joe don't. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, it was updated yesterday, this list as well, so you felt like Seattle should be on
Is this Sky Bet?
No, it's Bet Online. Not everybody has these markets. I think that's
what I mean,
the issue. They're real difficult to find. Bet Online.
I'm guessing the odds of who knows more between the bookies and me and Byron is probably leans one way.
Thanks for it. I'm glad you support us, Joe. I wasn't too sure, but I'm glad you've got our back.
I also think you just put the Patriots as being in the mix for any one of these top 10 free agents as well. Again, they really need to help Drake May out with wide receiver, and why not go get a vet as good as Chris Godwin? Are all three supposed to come up at once there?
Yeah.
So the three. It's cornerback trios.
Excellent. Good work, Joe. So we've got Carlton Davis, who was only traded to the Lions last year.
That's what I mean, that kind of trade where you're like, the trade's a decent pick for him, and he's still on free agent.
Travarius Ward from your Niners, Joe, and DJ Reed. So I've got Reed going back to the Jets. I think they'll work it out on getting a deal done for Reed to go back. I think the fit of the new head coach, Aaron Glenn, helps with that as well. Just played the position. And I think in Reed and Sauce had a bad year last year, but I think those are just two things you want to get locked down, and you've got top tier players there. So I'd be shocked if the Jets let DJ Reed walk out the building. Byron, you've got to go to the Lions, which I get makes sense given kind of what happened to the Lions down the stretch last year.
Yeah, and kind of as all three are up at once, Carlton Davis I have leaving, so a need becomes a bigger need. I think again just a good scheme fit, so they're going to have money to spend, and I think they'll take it. If they can't bring Carlton Davis back, I think they'll take DJ Reed, the more logical one to me.
Yeah, and I've got something similar with obviously Ward leaving the 49ers. He's not coming back with obviously what happened with his daughter. He said he just doesn't want to be in San Francisco, and that's fair enough. So I've got them. The 49ers have been linked with DJ Reed, obviously with Salah going to the 49ers. He probably made DJ Reed a lot better player than he was before he got there, so it makes sense. And they're losing quite a lot of people on defense, so why not try and get at least one premium talent on there and then work on everything else. So I've got DJ Reed to the 49ers.
Excellent. And then Carlton Davis, we've got... me and Byron both think Carlton Davis going up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Joe, you've got him going to the silver and black of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, it just feels like a Raiders move again. I'm just looking at history. They love to pay a good a cornerback in free agency a hell of a lot of money. So why not Carlton Davis? But you did remind me, Jets could be a decent shot if DJ Reed doesn't go back. Glenn's obviously gone to New York. Could that be an option if DJ Reed goes out as well? And yeah, I've just got Jags going for Ward because it feels like, I know Balky's out, but Jacksonville just love a former 49ers player, so they seem to always pick them up.
Cool. And the last two we've got is a couple more of the wide receivers. Devontae Adams was released by the New York Jets earlier this week. Nobody willing to take on the $38 million cap here. It would have been for Devontae. I've got him in essence replacing Cooper Kupp. Obviously very different wide receivers, but obviously savvy veteran. And actually, you know what? He did produce. I think he did produce for the Jets after the trade, didn't he? For sure. I think he was on pace to take that out over the course of a season for a comfortable 1,000-yard season. So yeah, still got it. Red zone, obviously huge red zone threat. I think he'd have a great kind of great balance with Puka Nacua, and I think Stafford would love him.
I mean, who wouldn't? I haven't gone to the Niners. He's no replacement for Debo, schematically certainly, but I kind of wonder if they're maybe moving away from the formations they've been using. Maybe the scheme changes a little. He's just an elite route runner, and I think again, Kyle Shanahan always loves having a dominant, main number one receiver. We'll see what comes with Ayuk, but obviously he's coming off a big injury. Might be a trade candidate. If he gets traded, I think they do make a big move at wide receiver because you're looking at a rough receiving group if you don't have Ayuk or Debo, and obviously they don't have Debo. I went with him going there. He wants to go back to the West Coast as well, I feel, as that he's made that fairly public knowledge. So, yeah, I kind of like San Fran as a fit there.
Yeah, and I've gone Chiefs as well. I can see it's been a 1-year deal. The Chiefs feel like they've got every single Hall of Fame wide receiver who's ending his career the last year or two. And he's chasing the ring. He hasn't got one, so why not go to the perennial AFC champion? I can see the Chiefs giving him like a 1-year deal, plenty of incentives, so you can play with Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully goes to the Super Bowl. Why not?
Yeah, didn't quite work out with D-Hop last year, did it? But I think Devontae Adams has got a bit more tread on his, a little bit more tread on his tyres, I think. But for those, so we've got the Rams are plus 900 to 9-1. Niners plus 750, 15-2. Chiefs plus 1600, so 16-1. The Packers are the favourites at 5-2 or plus 250.
Yeah, I can't see that. Yeah, and I can't see that happening.
Kind of feels like what they've been doing, like the whole movement that they've been having.
Like they need a number one. Yeah, they need a number one, but it feels like Adams. What is he? Would you still say he's a number one now? He wasn't a number one in New York, so you would want someone possibly I'd rather gamble on a DK or something like that rather than maybe 1 year on Adams.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And
I think if they can get him at a fair price, I think
Mm-hmm.
I think any team should do it.
Yeah,
but
I think a team's going to offer him loads of money. That's the thing.
Yeah. And then rounding off our top 10 free agents that we're looking at, Amari Cooper had a quiet run of it at the Bills after his trade from the Cleveland Browns. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, I like Amari. I'm very sorry we traded him, but might turn out that might have been a good move. I've got Amari Cooper going to the Texans. Obviously, they've got their one in Nico Collins. Stefan Diggs obviously was there in essence on a 1-year rental, big injury. I've read Tank Dell's had a setback in his injury. I don't know if that's. I think that was from the aggregators though, so I shouldn't be taking that as gospel. But there's a potential that he's had a setback in his another horrific injury that Tank Dell's had.
I think ultimately, from my understanding, is don't expect Tank Dell to play next year. So just go in with that in mind, and if he does play 5, 7, 8 games at the end of the season, it's a bonus, but I think the Texans are moving ahead as if he's not going to play next season.
So they need help, and I think I may probably get Cooper at a good price. Again, good veteran. He'll probably produce more than he did kind of with Buffalo, I think, because I think there's still a good player in there.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that Christian Kirk was traded to the Texans today for a 7th round next year.
Today, didn't I, Joe?
Yeah.
I just want to, just to be that guy, and, you know, I don't know if you want to edit this out. I picked the Texans. Paul picked the Panthers.
Oh.
I was confused why Paul was picking up the Texans. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the Texans.
I've not looked at this sheet since I've put it in.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, though. Like, that's why it's a good fit for the Texans.
Texans make sense.
Absolutely right. The Christian Kirk trade, they've given up a 2026-7 for Christian Kirk. I don't think stops them from signing Amari Cooper. And to me, Amari Cooper just feels like he should be a Texan at some point in his career. It almost felt like he's already been a Texan.
Can you sell the Panthers now as a landing spot for Amari Cooper, please?
Yeah, they need wide receivers and they have money to spend.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I do apologize. I blame it on Paul for putting the order of how we normally do it the completely wrong way around, so he threw me off. But yeah. But no, I think great. I just went the Saints. I just thought give Saints, because we're not going to probably speak about the Saints at all this episode because of their cap hell. So why not, go back to his former OC in the Cowboys? I'm guessing he was still there. And who's now the head coach. I always feel like with the cap, they can change some contracts, do a few things, and maybe push it down the line like the Saints normally do. They need a wide receiver too, so just really think
better not have much of a market. I'm going to say if he's going to the Saints, because I think he's going to be playing for Gumbo and Crawdaddys. I don't think there's any cash in those coffers.
No, there isn't.
Unless Derek Carr's getting paid till 2055. Which Mickey Loomis might well do. Let's not rule it out.
Yeah, they'll love to do that. Yeah, $80 million in the hole.
There's a baseball one, isn't there? Somebody who gets paid every Manilo or something. I can't remember his name, but it's like Bobby Manilo Day or something. Every year he gets paid his $1 million.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, that were our top 10 free agents. So, Joe, you had some more.
Yeah, if you go on the next slide.
So you just want some interesting ones for.
Yeah, just some interesting ones. So like the QBs. It was mainly me and Byron who wrote some of these, but Paul put there as well. But we can see Paul's opinion. It'll be good to see. So for Fields, I think I took him for the Browns. Byron said back to the Steelers. I think that's an interesting.
The Steelers as well.
Yeah, I just thought the Browns could be interesting in terms of, Watson's probably not going to play next year. It could be a good 1-year option. We've got Russell Wilson, so he's got the Raiders and the Giants. Daniel Jones, we've got the Vikings and the Rams. I think his backup positions, and one who's not a free agent, but I think is probably the most interesting QB, other than Kirk Cousins, who, if he is available, I'll probably take over any of the QBs, is Aaron Rodgers. I'm curious, Paul. Did you have the Titans or the Giants? Sorry, I'm just trying to.
I think the Giants. I think they were kind of in the Stafford sweepstakes, weren't they? The Giants, and I think they're screwed because my gut still tells me that 1 and 2 is going to be Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders in the draft, and that leaves them on the outside looking in for a quarterback. So I think they may take Rodgers and then take a Jackson Dart, a Jalen Milroe.
Quinn Ewers,
one of the others.
They did just sign Tommy DeVito back. Speaking of Quinn Ewers level quarterbacks.
Yeah, up until yesterday, they didn't have a quarterback signed.
That's correct,
to the team, so yeah. But I think Rodgers might go for a year. I mean, he's already there, so.
And you've got the Titans, Byron, obviously, with the number 1 pick.
truthfully, I had the Titans with a little asterisk. I think he might not get a job because I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I said this a few weeks ago on our. I don't know what show it was now, but I wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers in the building. He's a distraction. He's playing at a low level despite racking up okay numbers last year. It was all so inefficient. He's 52 years old. Oh, no, he's not 52, but he's getting on so much in age. I put Tennessee because I think they're going to trade back and try and get a haul. I think the Giants will move up and take that number 1 pick because they need a quarterback. Obviously, here I don't have them getting a, I think I have to get him Russell Wilson, but again, that's not a long-term solution. I think Rodgers is kind of washed, and I think he carries too much baggage with him. I really wanted to put him in Minnesota for the narrative of like him being a cheap backup and being there with JJ McCarthy. I don't want him there with JJ McCarthy though. I think he's a nuisance. I think he's a distraction, and I don't think his play carries the weight of putting up with it. So yeah, I put him on Tennessee because I think they're going to need a quarterback. But yeah, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I ain't signing anywhere before the draft because I'm not getting Michael Penix again. I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk Cousins is a Tennessee starter instead of Rodgers, but I gave it Rodgers just so I could have this little rant about how much I dislike Aaron Rodgers.
You think he's going to be a Tannehill, this year? I had him at the Steelers. I think that could be an interesting. If they don't want Fields, if they just want to gamble, good narrative around going to the Aaron Rodgers at the Steelers.
Well, they could, you could have a situation like they had Wilson and Fields last year. They could have Fields and Rodgers like that. What Fields isn't going to command a lot, like is he? And Rodgers' values obviously plummeted, so obviously it's not as great a situation they had last year financially wise about not really having to pay for us. But yeah, I think they could comfortably afford to pay both, and that's miles under what you pay for a good starter anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's both. I'd love to situations have Russ and Aaron Rodgers at the Giants, like just see which one could piss off the people the quickest. Yeah, and that'd make for some great viewing, and then definitely get them on Hard Knocks because that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I think give him the preseason Hard Knocks again as well, like the draft Hard Knocks. I know they've cancelled it because it was so bad, but it was great viewing.
Well, nobody was willing to do it, basically, because they saw what a laughing stock the Giants have become. But somebody is doing it, though, just not from the NFL. Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels are supposed to be doing it. Is that gone as well?
That's gone as well, yeah. Fell through, couldn't make a deal.
Gutted. I think that was almost done, which would have been incredible.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick's girlfriend told him he needs to get on TikTok instead.
Excellent, Joe. Right, what else have you got for us on here? Let's have a look at the running backs.
Yes, the running backs. Again, I don't think it's fairly slim picking. So Aaron Jones is probably the number one in free agency. So Byron's going to go back to the Vikings. I've gone for the Bears just to keep the NFC North, just to play for every single team. We've got Nick Chubb. Byron's got the Steelers. I went the Chargers. Dowdle. Byron's got back to the Cowboys. I've gone to the Raiders. And finally, Najee Harris. Byron's going to the Raiders, and I've gone Broncos. Any of them, Paul, stand out? It would be interesting, or
I think Dowdle, the Cowboys will get Dowdle done coming back. Obviously, had such a good second half of the year when they finally just let him run the ball. Funny that. Yeah, I think he's really good. What's Dowdle, 27, I think, maybe. So I think he could get a good year, a good couple of years potentially out of Rico Dowdle. Chubb, obviously I hope Chubb lands into a good situation, and it feels like that's opening up, doesn't it, with Najee Harris going to likely leave the Steelers. I think maybe he might be a bit better a year removed. Obviously it was such a brutal injury that he came back from. He looked still in a bad way last year, but hopefully a full off season and training camp and stuff like that, and I don't think he'll ever get back to his best because of just the nature of that injury, but I think he could still do a really, really good job. I think the running backs are in trouble this year. I think these veteran running backs are in trouble this year, not these four in particular. There's so many in the draft, serviceable running backs, where I think actually there's going to be a lot of guys that we see bounce around the league that are done because all these guys are going to come in and take the jobs. Nature of the beast, I guess, but it looks like it's going to happen to these veteran running backs, particularly this year.
wide receivers next. Again, the wide receivers, I think it's not a great draft for them compared to the years prior. And the free agency is not incredible. So I think the ones we've talked about are going to get some big money. But the ones who are available, Stefan Diggs, Byron's got the Panthers. I've gone to the Cowboys, get the Diggs brothers together.
No, keep Stephon Diggs away.
Me and Byron's got the Lockett to go to the Raiders, go back to Pete Carroll. Hollywood Brown, Byron's going back to the Chiefs. I've gone the Bucks to replace Godwin. And finally, I think the big one, which I'll get Byron's opinion on, DK Metcalf is obviously asked for a trade. People in Seattle are not happy, as I mentioned. You've got against the Patriots. I've got the Chargers. So you think it's just Patriots again with the money, with the trade capital, are going to go all in DK Metcalf? Will that fit into the Patriot way, kind of variables way, to get a player like DK Metcalf, who has a reputation, if that's true or not, but he certainly has one?
Sorry, were you asking me, Joe? Sorry.
Yeah, I was asking.
Yeah, I realised I was on mute and I wasn't sure that you'd actually directed it to me. I think ultimately, again, they've got $1 billion to spend. There is not a more pure wide receiver one available. Give Drake May someone that will just go up and can win against anybody, can win contested catches. I don't think he's ever been like what he could be in the NFL. Like, he's not hyperbole here, obviously. He's not Randy Moss. You know, he looks like he could be sometimes. I don't think you're ever going to get that on a week-to-week basis, but, you know, again, you just need to surround Drake May with pieces, and a play like DK Metcalf becomes available. I think you just do what you can to get him in the building, essentially. Obviously, you don't go crazy. They're not giving up the fourth pick to get him or anything like that, but I think if you can get him at a reasonable deal, third-round pick seems to be about the asking price that is more reasonable than what Diana Rossini is reporting. That's he's not going for a first-round pick. That's just not happening.
It's first and a third, wasn't it? What Diana?
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
I would say the thing with DK though is when you look at teams he would fit and would love him. There's so many teams just because of the free agency and the draft, and like I think there'll be so many teams who would want DK and be willing to give a little bit more. I think the first and the third is a bit too much. I can see them getting like a second and a fourth. Just a team just going out like the Patriots. Like you mentioned, I've gone for the Chargers just because I can see Harbaugh being able to work with DK, and he probably would love that kind of character in his building and who needs players. So I think there could be start like bidding between teams, because you know, if you go down the list of 32 teams, there's probably a good 20 who you'd be like, oh, they would love him. Like, and they've got a shot at him.
His money's the issue. I think he's come out and said that he wants 30 plus million a year, and I don't know if we've seen DK produce produce enough to say he's $30 million a year.
I think there's kind of an issue though of like $30 million isn't what it was either.
Yeah,
because that cap is just going up and up and up every year. Like, that's kind of my line on it, is like, again, there isn't enough good players to pay.
So currently the market, in terms of the betting market, is so the next team is the team he'll be on as of the 5th of September.
Yep.
The Seahawks are actually that he's staying plus 300 joint with the Chargers. So staying with the Seahawks 3-1, all going to the Chargers also 3-1. Patriots at plus 350, 7-2, and then it's the Texans at 11-2 and 7-1 the rest. So I think it's interesting. I don't know if that's what Seattle maybe want, and you'd expect maybe they would move from that. And DK's demands might mean he doesn't get.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're thinking what AJ Brown got there.
Yeah.
You know, when the Titans traded him to the Eagles, where like a big team could just think someone crazy like the Ravens could be like, oh, we could just do with a DK. Let's just give him bottom the first. We're not going to get someone as good as him. Let's just go for it. Let's gamble. Let's get that Super Bowl. So, yep. And then finally, for the offensive side, it's just two offensive linemen. Got Cam Robinson. Byron's got Patriots. I've got Giants. And Zeitler, I've gone Seahawks. Paul's gone Bears. Let's just move on to defense, and
Bears.
Probably Bears. That's what I said, isn't it?
Bears. There's no way Ben Johnson's letting him go anywhere else.
How many guards has he signed in free agency?
Yeah.
All of them. All of the guards. Play 6.
Played 7, 4 guards. the
We've got running
centre.
back, so why not? Yeah.
So that defense, so which go on the lines. So me and Byron both and Demarcus Lawrence go into the Commanders. This is Dan Quinn connection. We've got Chase, who's a free agent again, Chase Young. Byron's got Bears. I've got the 49ers. Khalil Mack. Byron's got Bengals. I've got Ravens. And Joey Bosa, who was recently released. Byron's gone 49ers. I've gone the Lions. And I'll quickly run through the two tackles. Alex Campbell, for give him a shout out just because what a pro's pro. Always goes to a team and does a job no matter, getting up in age.
Everywhere he's been the last few years, I'm sorry, he's been bounced around teams, he's gone and been arguably the best player on the defense.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Byron's going to the Jags. I've got Colts. And then finally, Jason Hargrave from the 49ers. Byron's got Bengals. I've gone Cardinals. And it does seem like he is leaving the 49ers coming off an injury, but he seems like to get torn tricep, but he is ready to go and will be fit for the start of the year. I should give it to you, Paul. Any of them make sense? Crazy or
after having him before, you don't want Chase Young back, surely?
I just think they've got nothing on that line now.
Yeah.
I just think they might be able to give him a cheap contract just to get some bodies in. I think Joey Bosa I wouldn't mind, but I don't know. I think he would want some money, and I'd rather 49ers spend it elsewhere than splashing on Joey Bosa, who might play, 4 or 5 games with his brother.
Yeah, I think like Chase Young's now, he's getting in that thing where he's just like the hired hand for.
He's a new Clowney. He's a new Clowney.
He's go around every year and just sign 1-year deals. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think he might have repaired his reputation a little bit in New Orleans last year. He did okay for the Saints, but yeah. I don't know, yeah. Lawrence makes sense for the Commanders. I think he's going to want too much. I think his value should have dropped. He was terrible. I know he got injured and then missed a lot of the year, but he was awful the first part of the season. Awful. He dropped off a cliff. Again, that was the defense as a whole, but I was particularly disappointed in him. Yeah, Mac's interesting, and yeah, I'm interested in Bosa as well because it's a couple of years of real lack of production. He's got like 5 sacks over the last 2 seasons or something ludicrously low like that. For a premier player, he might be best. I can see him maybe going to somebody that's loaded, like an Eagles, for example, where just be situational. Not have to play a lot of snaps and
Cheap replacement for Josh Sweat, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, we'll move on to I think the position which might be. I think the defense you can actually get some good players in this free agency. So the linebackers you've got Dre Greenlaw, another 49ers who is leaving. Byron's gone. Going back to the 49ers, I've got the Texans. We've got Hassan Reddick. We'll see if he actually plays for his new team this year. Byron's got Cardinals. I've got the Bucks. And finally, Nick Bolton. Byron's got Seahawks. I've got Rams. Any of them. I would say I don't think he's going back to the 49ers. I think with the injuries, I would love him back. But I think they're trying to get younger and injury-free players. I've just gone Texans just because, again, they're the new Jags. DeMarco Ryan loves the old 49ers. But yeah, do you think, I'll ask this question, do you think the Cardinals being 32nd in the rankings of teams, the player rankings, is that going to affect any free agent to be like, I ain't good to that player? Because I think he's come last 2 years in a row in terms of what the players think. You can answer.
They don't give him meals, right? Or they give him only very limited food and stuff like that. And it's like, surely you want your players to be fed by you. That one always blows my mind. Like, for such a small expense, relatively to running an NFL franchise, like, you're penny pinching around an extra meal a day when, like, surely, again, I've never run an NFL franchise or any kind of athletic department, but, like...
Not yet.
not yet, you're quite right. But surely you want to know exactly what your players are eating and to be there to give them the best stuff. Like, I don't want my players picking their own meals. They're not nutritionists. Like, you might get Eddie Laced, It can happen. Like, I'd love someone to prepare all my healthy, nutritious meals for me. Like, I mean, Sydney does a cracking job, I will say. Like, but when she's in her office days, I just end up eating pot noodles. So, yeah, I find that so staggering for a team to not put more emphasis on those kind of things. Like, for the amount of outlay to make your team so much more of a willing place for people to go, I just think it's so penny pinching in the wrong areas, I think, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure the Cardinals would want Hassan Reddick. Obviously, once he got sorted with the Jets and started playing, he was fucking atrocious.
Yeah, I was trying to find a fit for him, and the Cardinals always need extra bodies on defense. He's played there before.
I was about to say, wasn't he the draft pick where the Cardinals decided to, like, every year was like, oh, he's a good athlete. He's not quite a linebacker, not quite an edge. And it was like, they did like 3 or 4 years in a row, and it's like, none of them turned out well.
Well, Reddick did.
Simmons, wasn't there?
Well, eventually, but not for them.
Yeah. And I think I was quite surprised. Again, I don't have Rosenfall's top 101 up. I can soon get it up. But I've got the Ringers one up, and I was surprised Nick Bolton was so low. Like, he's not low, but like he was 17 on their list, and I thought it's 16 on Craig Rosenfall's. Like, Amari Cooper's at 11 and Nick Bolton's at 16. That doesn't seem right to me. I would take Nick Bolton on my team all day. Nick Bolton's what, 25? Is the age on here? 20, yeah, it's 25. I don't know, what am I missing? He's been really good, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I know linebackers are generally a little undervalued, but I mean, if I'm Seattle or the Rams or, any team who needs a linebacker, a leader, and Seattle cycled through them last year. I mean, so did the Rams, to be fair, actually. Both got younger, both need leadership there. I think they could both get a good player there.
And Bobby Wagner just re-signed while we're talking about the linebackers. He just re-signed with the Commanders on 1 year, $9.5 million. Breaking news here. Good teams and great teams cover. Broken by NFL.com and then regurgitated by me. But, breaking news is breaking news.
Nice. And let's finish this free agency. So it's just the defensive back. So again, I think this is fairly strong in the free agency. So first off, we have Byron Murphy, who I think was in our All-Pro team. Certainly, he was first, second. He's a free agent. I've got him going back to the Vikings. I think, again, with all that money they're going to spend. And Byron's got him going to Panthers. We've got Hufanga leaving the 49ers. Byron's got Cardinals. I've got the Panthers, so vice versa. And then finally, Jevon Holland from the Dolphins. I've got him going back. Byron's got him going to the Jets. Any final thoughts, Paul, on any of them?
No,
before we call it a day of free agency?
I don't think the Vikings will let Murphy go. And yeah, I think Hufanga's going to be a big miss for the Niners. He goes a bit of a tone setter, isn't he? And
he just didn't play enough the last 2 years. He was just injured all the time. Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is why I've got him going to the Cardinals, because they'll take anybody. It's my ethos here.
And Holland maybe stays in the division. I don't know, but I do like him returning to Miami as well. What a whirlwind stop tore through free agency.
Yeah, and next week we'll see how terribly wrong we were.
Yeah, of course. So those are just our kind of thoughts on where we expect the top free agents to land to kick off our third season here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. Find us, as mentioned earlier, you can find us wherever most places you can get podcasts from, you'll be able to find us now. More than just one place, which is good. Spotify, Apple, Podbean, Overcast. As a result, probably some others that I don't know about, it's on there now as well. Always on YouTube. Good Teams with Great Teams Cover. At GTW_GTC for things like our...
I was going to say one thing before we finish wrapping up. Slightly breaking news. I wonder if you wanted to get a live guess at where this play might go. Evan Ingram released. Number 1 tight end on the market. Chargers? That's my instant call anyway.
Patriots is the new Jonnu Smith.
Ha! Not bad, yeah. Wide receiver 1 in New England.
I don't know, yeah, they seem to just be blowing it up, don't they, the Jags?
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally have a competent GM in place and just like, what are these contracts? No, get out. Leave. Everybody out. Yeah. What's this Trevor Lawrence kid being paid $50 million for? Modelling?
Plenty of time in the off-season to talk about that. But yes, where was I? I was promoting us. Where did I get to?
You didn't get
Instagram.
to say Evan Engram's going.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered that now. At GTW_GTC over on Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube as well. So yeah, we're back. Feels good to get one. Feels good to see one go through the hoop. We'll be back next week. Another episode next Friday. Just once a week at the minute until we get to the season, of course. Maybe some specials along the way. But yeah, we'll be back Friday with a review of kind of winners and losers from the first couple of days of free agency. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.